Hello, Africa. Welcome and Happy New Year to you. This is Sci Tech and I am Ignatius. And also, what are we talking about today? Now, the idea to receive your salary or complete a transaction through a single coin is a pretty nice one, right? But did you know that the amount of energy needed to use a single Bitcoin transaction could actually power a house for a month? This revelation by the World Economic Forum is raising serious concerns about whether Africa is ready and in fact can afford to use this latest digital currency, which is gradually catching the attention of the world. Well, you'll recall last week I introduced you to what cryptocurrencies are all about. Now, revelations of the risk and cost benefit to the environment may fuel further debates about Bitcoin. Experts are saying generating Bitcoin truly requires a staggering amount of energy. The report said Bitcoin's mining's energy use is reportedly growing at a rate of 25% per month. It will consume as much electricity as the United States in 2019. And by 2020, Bitcoin mining could be consuming the same amount of electricity every year as is currently used by the entire world. Meanwhile, another study reckoned that 60% of a Bitcoin miner's income will be spent on operational costs, including electricity bills. We'll hear about Africa's preparedness for Bitcoin. But first, Daniel Bianchi, a professor of finance at the Warwick Business School, has some misgivings.
I mean, reality is that nobody can actually forecast this thing. It could be that there is a bubble. The reality is that it's hard to say because we don't really know what kind of fundamental value Bitcoin actually has. I see as the legal risk as one of the biggest risks of Bitcoin. If regulators suddenly step in and decide that Bitcoin is outlawed, then it's basically almost the end, right? The legal aspect of Bitcoin, it's a very relevant one.
So there's a very big question, and that is, what is the cost benefit for Bitcoin? And is our beloved continent, Africa, ready, considering its energy generation bottlenecks? Lord Bentil is co-founder of Blockchain Society Ghana. Let's take a listen to him.
On the environmental impact of Bitcoin, one statistic out there says that a typical Bitcoin transaction uses as much electricity as an American household for 1 week. But when we compare this to fiat money, to other items of value such as gold, silver, and so on, you realize that the processes behind making these things involve things like cutting down trees, releasing pollutants into the environment, and other things. And all these together forms a much greater and more severe environmental impact than Bitcoin's power consumption issue. When we look at Africa's response to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, right here in Ghana, there are a number of different groups involved in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain technology. This is similar in Nigeria, Kenya, and also in South Africa. In Zimbabwe, where the currency is struggling, Bitcoin is a viable alternative to doing transactions and buying items abroad. In Kenya, there's even an interesting instance where a man paid his dowry in Bitcoin. So Africa has already embraced Bitcoin, and I think we'll continue to see a lot of activities going forward.
All right, so that's Lord Bentil, his co-founder for the Blockchain Society in Ghana. The conversation on Bitcoin, I'm sure, will not end, but let's move on to other stories right here on Sci Tech, where Russian scientists have restored communications with Angolan satellite days after they lost contact with it. Launched on the 26th of December in Russia's Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, Angosat will boost mobile and net communications in Angola, as well as broadcast radio and television shows. Soon after the launch, Russian ground control staff said they were no longer receiving data from the spacecraft. The $280 million project was financed with a credit from Russian state banks and is designed for a 15-year mission to boost satellite communications, internet access, radio and television service. Now, Angosat is Angola's first communication satellite. The products are of an intergovernmental agreement signed between the Angolan and Russian governments in 2009. The Central African nation announced it is focused on expanding the space program. Angola is one of the few sub-Saharan African countries in space. South Africa, Ghana, and Nigeria are the others. And that's all I have for you on Sci Tech right here on Africanews. I am Ignatius Ano, and let the conversation continue on Twitter. Use the hashtag @TheMorningCall. Thank you for watching.